Hey everyone, my name is Brad. I'm back in my office today after we had an ice storm, and today I'd like to talk about the 3 things that we noticed why our level 3 visits are disappearing. So follow along with me. For those of you that are not in medicine, complexity of visits are billed based on level of service. So inpatient, there's usually 3 levels of service, 1, 2, or 3. Outpatient's what I'm talking about primarily today. There's 5 levels of services, or there were 5 levels of services. Back in January of 2021, the governing body that makes the rules for how Medicare basically produces their codes and then subsequently pays out for those codes said, look, we're going to change things around. The things that went away with that billing in 2021 where they got rid of the level 1 visits. Not only did they get rid of that, but you don't necessarily need to bill based off complexity of past medical, social, surgical history, examination, review of systems. It's purely based off of time and medical decision-making now. So the more sick the visit, then the higher the level of service given. So pre-pandemic, when we looked at our numbers, ours matched Medicare's pretty well, actually. About 12 to 20% of our visits were always level 3 visits, same for level 5, and then the rest were level 4 visits. But then when we started looking back at last year's visits, we noticed that our level 3 visits dropped off to 5%, and we kind of wondered, where did all those visits go? Well, it turns out that there's a couple of answers for where those visits went. The first answer is that Medicare, with their billing guideline changes, it's actually kind of slightly easier, in my opinion, to hit a level 4 visit. Previously, you had to back it up with an examination. You had to back it up with kind of going through this whole review of systems and everything, which, is it really pertinent to ask a review of systems about allergies when someone's coming in for chest pain? I don't know. Maybe. Just depends on the case. The first reason that we identified our level 3 visits have just disappeared to is telemedicine services. 24/7 people can get telemedicine. I think that's wonderful. My brother, my own family does it. 2 a.m, you need something. You need an antibiotic for UTI. Great. Get on a telemedicine service. Now you can do it as cheap as probably like $20 or even free through some people's insurance. So these low-level visits of complexity of someone just calling in, uncomplicated urinary tract infection, those are coming to us sometimes, but other times they're just simply going to someone else. The second reason we've noticed our level 3 visits disappearing is because patients are getting more complex. When they're coming into our office, it used to be, I'm coming in just for travel vaccines. I just need a typhoid vaccine. Or I just need to go over X, Y, and Z, or I need this for form filled out for a physical or something like that. Now when patients are coming in, there's also a lot of times concurrent anxiety, depression, mental health issues that we have to address during the visit. That usually takes a lot more time and leads to a higher level of complexity for pretty much most visits that we end up seeing. It's hard to end up billing for that low level complexity. The final reason is a little bit more controversial, but is the rise of the patient portal. I remember whenever I was in medical school, I went for my annual physical and the doctor made me come back. And I was honestly a little bit annoyed that I came back in and the doctor told me, hey, everything looks good. Your cholesterol could be a little bit better. Just eat healthier, exercise more. I kind of remember walking away from that visit thinking, this is kind of almost a waste of my time coming back in for this. I'm sure that level of visit may have been billed for a level 3 visit. Those visits are disappearing because of the patient portal. We're noticing that we're shooting patients a message saying that exact thing in their patient portal. Cholesterol is a little bit abnormal. Make these changes. Follow up with me. If you want to talk more, have a visit. So we may ask ourselves, well, why don't we offer 24/7 telemedicine services? And the answer is purely financial. These level 3 visits now, some of our less profitable insurance payers may pay as little as $50 per visit. By the time you account for overhead, when we did the math, let's say we hired a advanced practitioner, like a nurse practitioner or PA to do visits in the middle of the night, or even after hours on the weekend. If they purely did level 3 visits, they would have to do about 2,100 visits just to pay their salary alone. There's still overhead on top of that. So then you'd have to basically maybe double that for overhead. So they would have to see about 4,000 visits per year just to meet overhead, which comes out to about 15 visits a day. Although that would be a good service for our patients financially, gosh, I'm just not sure it makes sense for us right now. It's not that we don't want to give our patients a premium service. It's just that is a huge ask for us. And especially when patients can get it for free through their insurance company or through many of these online telemedicine services, we just kind of say goodbye to them, and it's a financial loss that we just have to take at this point in time. Let's just talk a little bit. Virtual is the future. Pretty much everyone wants to do things virtual. And we even have a lot of patients that want to just simply text us and ask for medical answers to those questions via text. That gets a little bit sticky from a legal standpoint. So we're still not 100% there in our clinic. And we do turn those into video visits. from a telemedicine standpoint. I think we're all going to have to adapt going forward because in this virtual world that we're living in, everyone wants things now and they don't want their time wasted. And having someone physically drive into the clinic just to tell them, hey, cholesterol is a little abnormal, eat a little healthier, it's not going to go over well for patients in the future. There's one limitation of virtual visits that I'd like to talk about briefly, and that really is it feels like good enough medicine. And sometimes that's just not great. Actually, a lot of times that's not great. What I mean by that is a lot of times we'll do a virtual visit. Let's say, oh, I need an antidepressant refill. Patient gets on, they're like, you know what? I'm wheezing from my asthma now. Can I get some steroids or can I get X, Y, and Z? It's really tough. I mean, one, we don't have any vitals on the patient. Two, I haven't listened to their lungs. And I feel like a lot of times these encounters have turned to, it feels good enough. And I think that's the struggle with virtual medicine, is that I didn't really get into medicine to practice good enough medicine. I think we all want to practice wonderful, excellent medicine. And we do try to turn those into face-to-face visits. But I think that there's this interesting fine line to walk with telemedicine visits where it works really well for a lot of things. And for other things, it feels kind of just good enough, which is, in my opinion, not good. So I think, where is the future of medicine heading? Well, I think there's no denying that the future of medicine is some combination of virtual plus face-to-face. It really pains me to say this, but I think that the future is going to be, if insurance doesn't change, by the way, is that the future is going to be some combination of you pay for an insurance company and you get basic service, and then there's going to be another tier. You pay for extra premium services. You want longer visits, you want text message answers, you want all these things from your primary care doc. Well, you're gonna have to pay extra for that, kind of like what concierge is doing right now. I personally feel like when I'm paying about $2,500 to $3,000 a year for health insurance for me and my entire family that I write a check every month to Blue Cross Blue Shield for, it just doesn't feel great when I'm not only paying that, but then I get nickeled and dimed every single time I go to the doctor's office. I think that there's gonna be a lot of frustrations going forward from that standpoint. I hope things will improve. I know that something will push it over the edge to where there will be innovation. A lot of patients will find, and doctors' offices will find relief in this innovation. I think that we've headed in a more positive direction in terms of adding on telemedicine visits, getting reimbursed for that. We'll see how things change. All I know is, I hope you guys are healthy and happy. Thanks a lot for following along.